Shalom. Today we will discuss a few thoughts about Parashat Noach, which is the second parasha in the book of Moses. In the book of Bereshit, of course, the first of the 5 books of Moses. Noach begins with the words, Ele Toledot Noach. These are the generations of Noach, which means the children of Noach. And then instead of telling me who are the children, whom we know, of course, Shem, Ham, and Yafet. Instead, he starts now describing the qualities of Noach. Noach, Ish Tzaddik, Tamim Haya Bedorotav. He was a righteous man. He was perfect in his ways. Et ha-Elokim hitalech Noach. He went together with God. Now that's a great and marvelous qualification, right? And who is the witness to that? God himself. The Torah is saying that Noach was perfect. Of course, there is one word there that gives you a small hesitation in this. It says, Tamim haya bedorotav. In his generations, he was perfect. From this, some of our sages suggested that he was not that perfect. He was perfect in his generation, which was an evil generation. But if he were to be in the generation of Avraham Avinu, that means 10 generations after Noach, then Yenechshav leklum. That's what Rashi brings. Noach would be considered nothing. That's very alarming to say such a thing about a man who has been described in the Torah by God himself that he is Ish Tzaddik Tamim Haya Bedorotav, that he was a righteous man. There's no greater testimony than the testimony of the Torah itself, right? So if God says he is perfect, what do you want? Why is it that it says, Rashi brings, and it is in fact a quotation from the Talmud in Masechet Sanhedrin, where it says that, of course, most of the sages said that he is perfect, indeed, that he was great, and if he were to live in the time of Abraham, our father, he would be even greater. Because psychologically talking, that's what happens. When you live in a bad generation and yet you are a good man, that gives you a medal, right? Because usually people are influenced by the area. But here, Noach did not fall into the trap of his generation. He kept being good. So therefore, if he were to be in the time of Abraham, which was a much better generation, it's only assumable that he would be a great man. But there are some opinions, yesh shedarshu oto lignai. There are those who suggested, whose opinion was that he was not that great. And that in fact, if he were to be in the time of generation, Noach would be considered nothing. And that's difficult to understand, especially that we have a testimony of the Torah telling me that he is righteous. What do you want? When someone is already declared to be a great man, why would anyone come and belittle this kind of description? Why? It sounds a little bit evil, right? When I looked into the Gemara, Rashi does not bring that. But when I looked into the Gemara, I found out that who are those opinions? The one who spoke, let's put it this way, the one who said that Noach was not very great, that's Rabbi Yochanan. And the one who said, oh no, Noach is great. If he were to be in the time of Abraham, he would be immensely much greater. Wow. And who's the one who said that? Resh Lakish. Now, Resh Lakish is the disciple of Rabbi Yochanan. So here we have the master of all the generation in his time, Rabbi Yochanan, who is the one who found something wrong with Noach when the disciple, Resh Lakish, is the one who describes Noach as a great man. Whom do we follow? Like there is a statement in the Talmud that says, Divrei harav v'divrei hatalmid divrei mi shom'im. The words of the Rav, the master, or the words of the pupil. After whom should we follow? Usually this statement is said about God and people. I mean, if someone tells you to kill somebody else, you are not supposed to listen to him. Like for example, the Nazis, when they were caught finally and they were captured, they pretended that they were under orders. That's not a justification to kill people, so many people. Why? Because you have to heed first the voice of God who said don't kill. Why do you have to listen to a human being? Even though he was not a human being, that's Hitler of course, but that's already something else. But now let's go back to our question. Rabbi Yochanan, the master of the generation, one of the greatest men who ever lived in the history of Jewish people, is the one who found something wrong about Noach. But Resh Lakish, the disciple, is the one who says, no way, he's perfect. Noach is perfect. Now, first question is that, hey, Resh Lakish, how dare you talk against Rabbi Yochanan, your master, your Rav? But the biggest question of all is, who was Resh Lakish? Do you know who was Resh Lakish? Do you know that Resh Lakish was a Baal Tshuva? He himself repented from his bad ways. What is the history of Resh Lakish? I mean, everyone knows. It's brought in the Talmud, in Masechet Baba Kama, and other places, that Resh Lakish was the head of a gang. He was a gangster in the beginning of his life. Even though he was supremely intelligent, but at the same time he was a bad man. He used to he used to rob people. And then, I don't want to tell you the whole story because it's a long story. Then he saw Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is a very beautiful man, very handsome man. In the beginning he thought he is a woman, so he plunged after whom he thought that he is a woman, and then he said, and then Rabbi Yochanan, when Resh Lakish realized that that's Rabbi Yochanan, he stood petrified, of course. So Rabbi Yochanan understood immediately what's going on with him, so he said to him, come and join me and learn with me Torah, because you have courage and you are brave. Why don't you use this for the study of Torah, and I will make sure that my sister, who is even more beautiful than me, will become your wife. So apparently that's the story. I'm sure there are many things behind it. That's not that's not enough to influence someone to change his ways. But we know that Resh Lakish went after Rabbi Yochanan. He became his disciple, and then little by little, after many years, Resh Lakish became one of the greatest masters of the Jewish people. I mean, there is not one page in the Talmud in which we don't find Resh Lakish saying his opinion. We respect very much his opinion. But between you and me, we have to look after his background. And his background was not much to say. And he is the one who is judging Noach to be perfect, versus what Rabbi Yochanan, his rabbi, what he said that Noach was not that perfect. So how do we? So the question is much greater than the first one, of course. Who is Resh Lakish to even say his own opinion? Or perhaps this is the answer. It's possible to say. So let's discuss first the opinion of Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish was a man who changed his life. He knows the taste of sin. He was into sin in the beginning of his life. He committed many injustices and many sins, many evil deeds. But he changed. There is a statement that our sages made elsewhere. במקום שבעלי תשובה עומדים, אין צדיקים גמורים יכולים לעמוד. Let's say you put two persons in the same place. You have one who is a righteous man, perfect, and one who was not perfect. He was bad in the beginning, but he changed his ways. Who's better? So the Talmud says, "B'makom sheba'alei tshuva omdim," in that place in which the one who repented stands with the righteous man. En tzaddikim gmurim yecholim la'amod. Not even the perfect man can stand in the same level as the one who repented. Which means the one who repented is much higher and much greater than the one who is righteous, who never sinned. Right? By the way, there is an opinion against it. It's a machloket in the Gemara. But by the way, the Jewish people goes very much by this opinion that the one who repented sincerely is considered to be in a much greater position, much greater level than the righteous. So perhaps that's the reason why Resh Lakish found a good reason to judge Noach to be a very good man. Come on, Resh Lakish says, I know the meaning of evil, I know the taste of sin, and I came out of it. That puts me in a higher level than anyone, because I overcame myself, I changed, I am a different person. So I know the meaning of evil and sin. And yet, I am a different person today. So please don't judge quickly people. Noach was in a generation of evil people. Wherever he turns, there is only evil. Not even one person was good. In his generation, there was a great sage called Metushelach. And God did not allow the world to be destroyed until Metushelach passed away. Our sages said that Noach was still young in the time of Metushelach. But still, during the time of the destruction of the world by the Mabul, as we know, the flood, Metushelach was not there anymore. There was another person, Lemech, but who knows about that? But truly, Noach was in a generation in which wherever you turn, you see only sin and bad things. ותשחט הארץ לפני האלוקים. The evil that permeated this generation of Noach was so great that even the land, the earth itself became evil. And go and understand what it means. But it means that everything became evil, even the earth. Let alone people who are, of course, influenced by their own inclinations. And yet, compared to the people who lived in his time, Noach was tzaddik, was a righteous man. And the Torah describes that very, very sincerely. Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya bedorotav. Et ha'elokim italek Noah. What's better than that? So Noach, knowing the power of evil, and yet the one who withstands, who resists the temptations, and stays apart from evil and sin, is the great one. That's why Resh Lakish understood who is Noach. And he found out that Noach indeed was a great man. And by the way, the opinion of God itself was described in the Torah as truly, yes, I agree with Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish is right. Noach is a righteous man. But our sages added, Yesh shedarshu oto lignai. Those who decided that perhaps Noach was not very great. And who was the one? Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is known to be not just a tzaddik. He was not just a righteous. He was the supreme righteous of his generation. There was no one who could equal the greatness of Rabbi Yochanan. And there are many stories that testify to that. And he lived very long, by the way. Those are other stories for other times. But Rabbi Yochanan judged Noach so harshly. Why? Perhaps that's the way it is, in accordance with what I explained with Resh Lakish. We can understand the heart of a tzaddik. The real tzaddik doesn't know the meaning of sin. He doesn't know what is evil. He doesn't know how badly you could be influenced by evil. So, Noach lived, he was perfect in his generation, but only in his generation. It says, the Torah says, Tamim haya bedorotav, he was perfect in his generations, right? It means that in other generations he wouldn't be that perfect. The heart of a tzaddik could judge a person a little more harsh. It's harsher than what other people might think. We can understand that. But at the same time, the Torah has decided Noach was a very righteous man, because in his generation he was still a good man. That's unbelievable. It reminds me a little bit of our own generation. You know, our own generation is somehow, of course there is plenty of Torah in our generations, many yeshivot, thank God, since the creation of the state of Israel. The Torah came back. So many, thousands of yeshivot are established in Israel and in the world. I remember more than maybe 30 years ago, I was invited by the community of Venezuela in Caracas. And the people prayed, but there was not the smell of Torah. I didn't smell a smell of Torah. Nobody there. Then I was invited again 10 years later, and they already had one kollel, two kollels, people studying Torah. The world is changing, Baruch Hashem, no question about it. So, this generation is problematic, because on one hand, most of the Jewish people in Israel are secular. They are not religious, unfortunately. Yes, we have many yeshivot, and we have many, many good people, and we have many religious people. But still, the majority is not very righteous. Unfortunately, go to Tel Aviv, go to Haifa. I mean, everywhere, including even Jerusalem, you will find people who are not that. It's difficult because this is the only generation in which we found that Jews are not perfect. And yet, there is a statement by the Talmid of Ha'ari HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Vital, the one who wrote all the lectures of the Ari HaKadosh close to 500 years ago, 450 years ago. And what did he say, Rabbi Chaim Vital, this very holy man, what did he say? He says the last generation before the Mashiach, before the Messiah will come, and we believe it's our generation because apparently all the prophecies are clearly happening today. I mean, we see it. Maybe there is one or two more prophecies that still have to be shown. But today we have seen that this generation indeed, Baruch Hashem, we have the creation of the state of Israel, whom we bless and we love so much. No question about it. At the same time, we also have the great prophecy of all the Jews who were dispersed and scattered all over the world are now coming back to the land of Israel. There is a reunion which has been going on for the last 60 years at least, right? And this is the biggest prophecy of the prophets, which means showing us that in fact the Messiah is about to come in this generation, right? Even the Vilna Gaon 250 years ago said that this generation, the beginning of the redemption is in this generation. When? 1948. And he said this prophecy in his books, in his commentary on the Sifra Disneuta, on the Zohar HaKadosh, and he said that the Mashiach will come in this generation. But the generation, most of the Jews are not religious. So how come he's coming? So the Rabbi Chaim Vital says, because in this generation it's so easy to sin. Wherever you go, there is temptation. You have the internet, a source of tremendous wisdom, no question about it. I mean, technology is unbelievable. Science is great in this generation, but at the same time, there's great power to sin. We all know, I don't have to explain. We know that. So it's very easy. Wherever you turn today, you see lack of tzni'ut. Many women are not very much, it's not easy to live with righteousness. It's not easy. Because the world, you are surrounded today with, wherever you turn, you see things that are not supposed to be seen, right? And yet people are still, there are many, Baruch Hashem, many religious people. There are many Jews who go every morning they get up in the morning and they have to go to synagogue. And even if they have to go to work after that, at night they come back to the synagogue. Shachrit, Mincha, Arvit. And people who learn Torah by the thousands, by the hundreds of thousands today, where you have so many Torah scholars and everything, right? And yet surrounded with evil. Is it possible that perhaps our generation, who is the lowest of all the generations, in accordance with the teachings of our sages, yet it is considered the greatest of all the generations, and that's why the Messiah will come in this generation. So verstehst, you understand the point? So it's possible that that's the reason why those who decided that Noach, and then the reason why God himself decided to go with the opinion of Resh Lakish, that Noach is perfect. Why? Because if in his generation of evil, and yet he kept himself as good as possible, that puts him on a higher level than any other generation before. So therefore, if he were to be in the time of Avraham Avinu, this man would be much greater than before. Because in the time of Avraham Avinu, people already discovered Avraham, and they came and joined him, and the world was changing to the best, of course, right? So therefore, Noach would be even better in those times. So that's the point. But Rabbi Yochanan is something else. Rabbi Yochanan knows only righteousness. So therefore, don't tell me Noach is great, no question about it. But don't put him together with Avraham. Avraham is great. Why did he think that Avraham is greater than Noach? Why? There is another suggestion that we can add. Avraham Avinu, you see, he had also many evil people in his generation. But he did not take care only of himself. Avraham Avinu went and looked for people who practically pushed him away. And he told them, he invited them, come, please, let me teach you the good things, that there is one God, that we have to worship him, that you have to say bracha for everything that you eat, and so forth. That's why he invited people by the thousands. He gave them food. And he watched them that they should learn how to say bracha, blessing, and so forth and so forth. But Noach, although he was a tzaddik, but his generation was very evil. Apparently he did not do enough for them. Whereas when we compare him with Abraham, we see that Abraham did the best he can. I mean, even Sodom, in Parashat Vayera, we will read in 2 weeks or 3, right? We are going to find out that Abraham went out of his way to beg God, to supplicate him, please have pity on the people of Sodom, even though he knew that the people of Sodom were all 100% evil, that this place was to be destroyed indeed. But Abraham had great compassion. He said, maybe there is hope, not now, don't do it, please. If there are 50 people, maybe 50 people are good. So God says, if you find 50 people, okay, I'll go with you. What about 40? Okay. What about 30? Okay. What about 20? Okay. What about 10? And God said, okay, find 10 people in Sodom that are good, I'm willing to forgive them. But Abraham could not find that. But he did his best. There is even a midrash that tells us that Abraham even asked God, what about if one person was good? So God said to him, even one person, if you find him good, I would forgive the generation. And there was no possibility to find that person. Not even Lot, right? We all know that. When we will come to this, we will discuss it perhaps. But in the meantime, that's what makes Abraham so great. Of course, his deeds were tremendous. But the fact that he also looked upon the other person and he did his best to rescue him, that puts Abraham on a higher level, that unequal to any level before or after. Noach, probably he did his best, but not enough. That's how our sages looked in the time of Noach. Noach he gave up. So he prepared himself according to the instructions of God to build up his teva, his ark, in which he brought in the people who were to be rescued, and also all the animals, and you know the story of Noach. But what about the rest of the population of the world? He said, I'm sorry, I cannot do much for you. That puts Noach on a smaller level, on a lower level than Abraham. And that teaches us a very big teaching. One has to be always looking for his fellow man. No matter what, even if you see your fellow man becoming bad, don't lose hope. If you have the right approach, maybe it's possible to bring him back. But don't give don't give up hope on anyone. Always try. That's what we learn from Abraham versus Noach. That's perhaps the reason why Rabbi Yochanan found Noach to be not so perfect. But everybody knows that in his generations, Noach, you could not bring anybody close to him in greatness and righteousness and perfection. So much et ha-Elokim hithalech Noach, that practically he walked with God. There is another explanation for that, but for us it is sufficient. Shabbat Shalom, and be well, and God bless you.